How's it going, everyone? My name is Graham, and welcome to Flashlight, a series where I look at the history of Flash games here on the internet. Today, I want to look at Super Adventure Pals from Jay Armstrong and Julian Wilton. It's an action-adventure platformer with some RPG influences that bends over backwards to put a smile on your face. From the wacky quests to cute characters and bouncy soundtrack, everything about this game is just fun in the purest sense of the word. With the aid of your pet giraffe, you work to save your beloved pet rock from the evil Mr. B. A bright and silly game about friendship made many years ago is now coming back to make sure that fun hasn't been totally lost from video games. This is The Adventure Pals. The original Super Adventure Pals came out in 2012 and was a labor of love from two indie devs working to make game development their full-time jobs. The story is that Jay first contacted Julian after falling in love with a giraffe drawing he had posted online, a character which would later become central to the Adventure Pals. When they first spoke, they immediately connected through a shared vision of wanting to make a fun, bright, silly platformer with a loyal companion a la Banjo-Kazooie. With outlandish and unpredictable settings and characters, the developers hoped to create an enjoyable gaming experience that simultaneously acted as an inside joke between the developers and the audience. The game knows exactly when to take itself seriously and when to slip in another joke. The game employed a simple design sense where the player is meant to discover the mechanics of the game for themselves. There's no true tutorial, with the game being laid out for you to discover mechanics like leveling up an overworld and improving abilities. They were inspired to have this mechanism of self-discovery after seeing Egoraptor's sequelitis video on the Mega Man series. My favorite story that I came across is that the zaniness and surprising moments that emerge in the game are actually a result of Jay and Julian trying to surprise each other. The brainstorming sessions were really loose, and it was mostly just about trying to get ideas out there. Jay and Julian said that they were pretty bad about not filtering things at the time, and pretty much any crazy idea that came to mind made it into the game. One discussion would include having something to act as a bridge between levels. Next thing, Julian would draw up a full town of characters and hand it over to Jay ready to go. Jay would come back with scripted interactions and missions the townsfolk could assign. Their shared vision for what this game would be allowed them to work independently but towards a uniform goal. This free and loose design philosophy allowed for truly creative and inspired moments rather than anything overly complicated or heavily workshopped. I feel that it helped breathe life and a more endearing quality into the world they were creating. The game's design process was like an improvisational jazz session. Julian would doodly-doo on his sax while Jay would ha-ta-ta-ta-ta on his drums, but also having a sequence structure and tying these elements together was very important to them. They eventually came up with the separated world map, barricaded progression, and layered goals to help make the game more cohesive. Super Adventure Pals has been played millions of times and won numerous awards across the web. It was also a perfect showcase for the best of what Jay and Julian both had to offer. Everyone was eagerly awaiting to see what these two young and upcoming devs would make next. A short time after release, we begin the production of the follow-up, Super Adventure Pals 2. That original game took roughly 6 months to finish. Both Jay and Julian knew they wanted to do more with the project and felt that a little more planning this time around could help tighten the narrative and reduce overall development time. Planning begun on Super Adventure Pals 2, another Flash game, and it was in development for close to a year on and off. But at that point, they were pretty unhappy with how the game was shaping up and were discouraged by the idea of trying to do a wider release of a game hindered by Flash's limitations. Luckily, around this time, Armor Games, who had sponsored the original game, was also interested in expanding into the Steam world. Armor provided the team some early seed money to work on the game, and came on board as Super Adventure Pals 2's publisher. Pals 2's. It's weird to say those plurals so close together. As a brief aside, while they were trying to get greenlit on Steam, they put together Super Adventure Pals Battle Arena. This is a reskin of one of Jay's games and was made solely to help promote the Greenlight campaign. The game's not very widely available because they actually sold an exclusive license to a sponsor to host the game. An exclusive deal like that limits the exposure the Greenlight campaign would have, but for indie devs, that extra cash in pocket is pretty hard to turn down. And as an aside, while we're already on an aside, you can actually play as the hero and his giraffe in Blob Game Studios' indie game battle. Neither of these games contribute to the continuity of the series or anything like that. Just a couple of other fun ways you can get some more Adventure Pals in your life. So, Super Adventure Pals 2 now has a publisher, it's lined up on Steam Greenlight, now the dev team just needs a fancy new name. And with this, Julian and Jay now became known as Massive Monster. The game now moved beyond Flash and worked with an upgraded engine, allowing for 60 frames per second and full screen capabilities. Once the game engine had moved beyond Flash, it made sense to also explore other animation options. They began to make use of Spine, a piece of software that allows you to add pivot points and fluidity to your drawings. It's an excellent way to replace the tediousness of having to redraw things over and over again the traditional way. There's some really outstanding examples ways that it's been able to make these drawings really come alive. Since the game was undergoing such a large shift and restructuring anyways, the two took the time to reevaluate their plans and improve anything that they felt was lacking in their current build. Adding humor wherever they could while keeping the game accessible and fun to play were very important. The simple 1-2-3 combo system against mindless enemies of the original game was replaced with a proper combat system. Enemies can no longer be ran straight through. They'll hinder you and challenge you and encourage you to utilize all of the skills you've learned thus far. They have these two games entirely about pals and friendship, but you have to play it alone? But not anymore! I personally am most excited about their addition of a new co-op mode. The game is so bright and wacky and unexpected that it feels like a shame to not share that experience with someone. And when the game comes out, we'll definitely be showcasing the co-op mode here on the channel. We now have a game with more humor, more accessible gameplay, improved combat, and the ability to play it with a friend. All these improvements and hard work have definitely paid off. The game isn't even out yet and it's already won several awards. I wouldn't be surprised if there's many more in its future. After a year of hard work on this new iteration of the game, the end point was in sight, but funds were low and a Kickstarter was launched. This milestone of development also marked the change from Super Adventure Pals 2 to The Adventure Pals, a decision to help distinguish the game as something truly unique. Through this extra funding, they've been able to expand the game and create console ports and set a new release date of April 3rd, 2018. The Adventure Pals promises to expand on everything you loved from the original. The worlds are bigger, the controls are tighter, and the wackiness is dialed up to 11. Boomerangs? Never heard of them. I use a boomer rock. Grappling hook? No thank you. I prefer to use a giraffe's neck. The game has a lot of personality and uses everything at its disposal to add extra layers of fun and humor. The original game had that great quality where you could tell that the developers were just trying to make you laugh. The Adventure Pals looks like they've maintained that while supporting it with vastly improved gameplay, so it has all the original fun but is much more enjoyable overall. Grab a buddy and explore Crablantis, beat up pirate zombie cats, buy new gear on a moon base, level up, hang out with Sparkles the giraffe and Mr. Rock, and work as a team to rescue your papa from the evil Mr. B before he turns him into another hot dog minion. Yes, that is the plot. I'm not making that up, it is that ridiculous and I love it. The Adventure Pals is coming to Steam, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and the Switch on April 3rd, 2018. I'll have links in the description down below. Be sure to wishlist it so you get alerted when the game comes out. Hey, and maybe click that subscribe button and you can come back to the channel and see our videos showcasing the co-op mode. I'll also have a link in the corner there to our Patreon page. I recently put together a list of different topics that I would love to cover with this Flashlight series, ranging from different games to developers to old trends in the Flash game world, and even the history of entire Flash game portals. My list ended up being 71 topics long. I have 70 more topics that I would love to cover, I just don't really have the time and resources. These videos take a lot more effort than the usual fare, so if anyone has the ability to chip in a couple dollars to help aid the development of future Flashlight installments, that would mean the world to me. And if not, then I hope that you at least enjoyed this video. And if not that either, then I hope you at least had a good day, I guess. And if not even that, then I'm sorry the world is the way that it is. But there's not a whole lot I can do about that. And let's bring it back in full circle and say if the world really does have you that down, then go and play the Adventure Pals, because I'm sure it'll brighten your day. Man, I really stuck the landing on that one. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you again soon.